Welcome back to another Friday Fumas Edition of Grit on the Rocks podcast, where we light one up, we pour a glass, and get real about life, grit, and growth. I'm your host, David, and today's topic, I gotta say, can sting both men and women alike.
This podcast is a Buenos Dias Media production.
This is the Grit on the Rocks podcast, where raw conversations meet smooth sips. Pull up a chair, pour your favorite drink, puff on your favorite cigar, and join us as we dive into the convos that matter. No scripts, no barriers, just unfiltered truth served straight up. Cheers to the real ones out there. Salud.
Let's get this started. Let's look at today's topic for this Friday Fumas edition of Grit on the Rocks podcast. And let's be honest, fellas and ladies, most of us like comfort. And nothing feels more comfortable than asking for advice from people we know will nod their heads and say, "You're right. You're right, bro. You're right, sis. You're right." But let me tell you something. Yes, men and women, they won't build you. This is Grit on the Rocks podcast, a Buenos Dias Media production.
The views and opinions expressed by the host, guest, and/or participants of this show do not necessarily reflect the opinions of Buenos Dias Media LLC, its associates, partners, and show sponsors. The content is intended for entertainment purposes and should not be construed as professional advice. Listener discretion is advised.
So let's face it. When you're the smartest person in the room, or you feel like you're the smartest person in the room, or you're the only one willing to challenge yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure. Growth doesn't come from agreement. It comes from friction. From being challenged, from hearing a hard truth, from someone who respects you enough to tell you what you don't want to hear. Sadly, this is something that has become very uncommon amongst men and women nowadays. Everybody just wants to applaud. Nobody wants to, hurt anybody's feelings. Even if it comes from the best place in their heart, the first thing to think about, is, I don't want this person to be mad, I don't know. Nowadays, everybody has trauma. Everyone has, I need to feel seen and all this type of stuff. So it's created a mentality where people don't want to say the truth to one another. Again, coming from a good place in their heart. I'm not talking about hate. I'm not talking about from strangers. I'm talking about from your friends or family members, those who are close to you and have your best in mind, right? When you only go to your boys or your girls who agree with everything you say, let's be honest, you're not looking for advice. You're looking for validation. And that, my friends, is not growth. That's ego. Look, feedback isn't always easy to hear. That's the truth. But if you're trying to build a life of purpose, strength, and real influence, you need truth tellers, not cheerleaders. This is something we see over and over. The person who is loyal, right? You have that person who is loyal and has everyone's best interests in mind, right? They're honest and has their friends and family's best interests at heart. That person is usually the one who is pushed aside from the others. They end up talking about this person and create this idea that their opinions or what they say is judgment instead of them trying to help. So what do? They cast aside this person and prefer to maintain themselves amongst cheerleaders, right? Applauding each other for whatever nonsense they do. But that is until shit hits the fan. Then all of a sudden, let's call this person. You ever notice how easy it is to find people who'll agree with you when you're already set on doing something? Are these the people you're seeking? Those you know who will always agree with you? Or are you looking for those people who might be in a position that you would someday want to be in? And therefore, you seek advice from these people because even if they tell you something you don't want to hear, they probably already did it and they understand what you're going through. And they probably might guide you through the best route, even though it might not be the easiest one. You say, I'm thinking of quitting my job tomorrow, right? When you seek these cheerleading type people. And your buddy or your friend just says, yeah, bro, you should. They don't deserve you. That's it. No accountability, no questions asked, no pushback, no reality check. Just a high five and a bad decision. Let's roll with it. That, my friends, is what they call an echo chamber. It's when you surround yourself with people who reflect your thoughts back to you instead of challenging them. And the problem with echo chambers is this. They feel like truth, but they're really just noise. You end up confusing agreement with validation. And validation, you confuse it with wisdom. But let's be real. Just because someone agrees with you doesn't mean you're right. It just means they're either too scared to challenge you or they don't care enough, or you're seeking advice from someone who knows even less than you do. We see this happen a lot. I know this person will probably challenge what I'm thinking, so I'm not going to go to that person. I'm going to go to this friend who probably has a life way worse than mine, probably has insecurities, hasn't done well financially, hasn't done well in, relationships. So I'm going to talk to that person because I know that maybe they see me as doing better and they just want to, cheerlead what I'm doing. So let's take a quick look at ego versus elevation, because that's what drives this whole thing. When we seek advice, we say we want truth, quote unquote truth. But most of the time, we just want affirmation. We want to be told we're already doing the right thing, that we're justified, that we are the victim, that we are smart, that we are the hero in the story. But guess what? Ego does not elevate you. It isolates you. The truth is uncomfortable. Real friends and real mentors will check you when you're off course. They'll tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Two different things. Sometimes what we need to hear, it's not even close to what we want to hear. And therefore, some people decide not to seek what they don't want to hear. They refuse to seek what they need to hear. And the more you ignore those voices, the more you build a bubble around yourself that eventually pops in the worst possible way. A failed relationship, a ruined business, a missed opportunity, or just simply massive regret. So before we continue with this topic, let's take a quick break to hear from one of our supporters.
Looking to connect with like-minded men who share your drive for success and passion for the finer things in life? Welcome to the Apex Gentlemen's Guild, a private members club for men who value ambition, camaraderie, giving back, and personal growth. For a limited time while we're fully remote, you can join the guild for free. Gain access to tons of motivational content, exclusive events, insightful discussions, and a network of high-performance individuals. Don't miss this chance to elevate your social circle. Request to join today at facebook.com/groups/Apex Gentlemen's Guild, or give us a like at facebook.com/Apex Gentlemen's Guild. The Apex Gentlemen's Guild, excellence forged in unity.
All right, so before we continue with our topic, let's take a look. Since it's Friday Fumas Edition, Let's take a look at this week's cigar highlight. This week's smoke is a flavorful twist for your humidor. And I know some people don't like flavored cigars. This is actually one of the first cigars I ever purchased on my own. Not the first cigar I smoked, but the first time I went into a cigar shop and purchased cigars on my own for myself. This was one of the first ones. And I gotta say, I still have pleasant memories and I still visit them often, right? So this cigar, what are we talking about? We're talking about the M by Macanudo. Now this cigar ain't your average Macanudo. It's infused with subtle coffee and cocoa notes and wrapped in a sleek Indonesian wrapper with a Nicaraguan binder and long fillers. What you get is a smooth, aromatic smoke with just enough sweetness and spice to keep it interesting. It's kind of like that friend who tells you the truth, but still buys you a drink after. Perfect pairing with your morning espresso, morning coffee, or a late night bourbon. This cigar proves that flavor can be bold and classy. I personally usually like smoking these when let's say I'm at the lounge and I'm there for a while, right? And I had my cigar and I had some whiskey or whatever it is that I'm drinking and smoking that night, right? And after I have maybe a stronger cigar and the conversation is good and, I want to end the night on a more mellow note, I usually grab an M by Macanudo and that is how I end the night, right? So M by Macanudo. All right, so let's continue now with the dangers of living in an echo chamber. So real brotherhood, and like I said, this goes both ways for women and men. So real brotherhood or sisterhood requires real honesty. Let me ask you this. Who do you go to when you're about to make a big decision? Is it the guy or girl who always agrees with you? Or the one who challenges you, who brings a different perspective, who asks, "Are you sure you've thought this through?" Because true brotherhood and sisterhood isn't about blind loyalty. It's about loving you enough to keep it real. And I think that's the love that many people confuse. Some people, I don't know, they're in this mentality that anyone who disagrees either hates them or is hating on them. And that is not the truth. There are people who truly love you and want what's best for you, and therefore they challenge certain decisions that you might want to make. Think about your inner circle. Are you surrounded by yes men and women who hype you up no matter what? Or are you surrounded by iron sharpening iron, as the Bible says? Look, I would rather have one friend who challenges me to be better than 10 who tell me I'm perfect the way I am. Because we're all, faulty. No one is perfect. So I prefer having that one friend who challenges me. And again, I keep saying this, anyone who challenges me, depending in the area of my life, you got to have your shit together in that aspect before you offer any advice, right? Just in case. Because the only time we're perfect is in the grave. And I am in no hurry to get there, right? Obviously, we must make sure that those who provide advice are in a situation that you might want to be in. You don't take marriage advice from someone who has failed time and again at their own relationships. And granted, you might say, this person has experience and they learned what not to do. But you see them and they have this never-ending cycle of committing the same mistakes with the same type of people. They have a type of man or woman and they continue this cycle, but then they want to offer advice to others. No, thank you. Right? You don't want to hear from someone who has, you want to hear from someone who has been happily married, that maybe might have a relationship that you want your relationship to look similar to that one. And I mean values. I don't mean copying a person. I mean in values and, how they keep their marriage strong. So yeah, this might be a person who has been married for X amount of years, maybe more than you. So they know what works. They might be able to offer you some type of advice when it comes to relationships. Right? Because you don't take business advice from someone who's never built anything in their life. You know, you see people, they have a million ideas and million things to offer advice about, but they do none of those which they offer advice on. Right? So constructive criticism builds character. Here's a mind shift for you. Stop fearing criticism and start filtering it. Not all criticism is hate. Some of it is the medicine you need for the infection of ego. The challenge is learning to discern the difference. You gotta ask yourself, is this person trying to help me? Do they have experience that I respect? Are they speaking from love or from spite? When their answer is yes to the first two, listen. Even if it stings, even if it's something you don't want to hear, especially if it's things you need to pay attention. Your ability to grow is directly tied to your willingness to hear hard truths. So on that note, let's take a quick look at this week's Friday reflection. The quote of the week is by Baltasar Gracián. It says, quote, "A wise man learns more from his enemies than a fool from his friends." Let that one marinate. See, when someone opposes you, they force you to think deeper. They force you to think harder and sharper. When everyone around you agrees with every move you make, they're not helping you grow. They're keeping you exactly where you are. And this is something that I share with my loved ones. I always tell them, many people might want to see you happy, but most people don't want to see you happier than them. Let that one marinate. And what I mean by that is that some people might offer quote unquote advice to help you grow. But some people might offer advice just to keep you exactly where you are. Because they don't want to see you grow more than they have. That's just the reality of it. Sometimes criticism is the greatest form of respect. It means someone believes you can do better. But if everybody agrees with you, my friend, the truth is you probably lost. Here's a golden rule in life and leadership. If everyone in the room agrees with you, you're probably not leading. You're managing a fan club. And fan clubs don't tell you when your zipper's down or your plan is stupid. You want to build something great in life? You want to leave a legacy, create wealth, lead a family, or launch a brand? Then you better build a council, not a crowd. A council of wise, seasoned, and honest people who care enough to challenge your thinking, to sharpen your judgment, and check for blind spots. At the end of the day, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, the choice is yours. Do you want to feel good for a moment? Or do you want to feel better for a lifetime? Advice that stretches you might hurt your feelings, but it will save your future. So stop chasing yes men and women and start building with truth tellers. Because truth might bruise your ego, but lies will bury your potential. So light up that Macanudo, that cigar that you love. Sip on something smooth and ask yourself, who in my circle challenges me? Who calls me out with love? And who just claps because they're scared to speak up? This week, seek advice that stretches you. Surround yourself with iron that sharpens iron. If you're serious about becoming a better person, start asking better people better questions. So thank you for tuning in to Grit on the Rocks Friday Fumas Edition. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this with a brother or sister who needs some real talk. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grateful, stay gritty. And remember to keep your spirits high, your cigars lit, your glasses full, and your conversations meaningful. This is Grit on the Rocks podcast, a Buenos Dias media production. I am your host and friend, David. Cheers.
Grit on the rocks tonight, men with hearts like iron bars, tackling life's endless fight, scars becoming stars, diving deep into the void, working dreams like candy, family bonds sometimes destroyed, life ain't always handy. Real men, real issues here, facing fears like storms at sea. Truth is all we hold dear, weakness set free. Help a battle we all share, fitness built with grit and sweat. Life ain't always fair, don't you dare forget. Challenges rise like mountains tall, through the haze we crawl alone. Echoes in the empty hall, our struggles carved in stone. Voices lost in loud cruel, but we rise and scream our names. Swords of truth forever hurled in this podcast game. Health a battle we all share, fitness built with grit and sweat. Life ain't always fair, don't you dare forget. Health a battle we all share, fitness